G'day legends, g'day superstars, Peps here, and I am about to take you through the 2023 Carlton Football Club season preview. Now, I've been doing this for 3 years, and when it came to the Blues, there was only one person I could go to. It's the expert. We've been chatting for the last 3 years, and hopefully this will be the year that we can finally put a smile on his face, because I know the last two have pretty much ended in tears. It's Terry Dehgani from Blue Abroad. Welcome back, kind sir. And I have to ask, have you finally recovered from that disastrous end for 2022?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And no, I don't think any Carlton supporter can truly say they've recovered. Not until we actually do the thing and win that extra game or whatever it is to get into the finals and, enjoy the march to the MCG, hopefully.
Well, a number of years ago, I was happy to see Melbourne miss the finals by 0.5%. And so I can feel your pain. The difference is that you had it in the bag in 2 last games of the season, and then it just fell in a heap. We were having a quick chat about the Melbourne game before we went on air, just how mind-numbingly close that was. But the one a week later against Collingwood was, in my eyes, that was the real heartbreaker, because when you're up by so much, you can just see it. And whether it was just the Collingwood of that year just streaming forward or you guys playing to save the game, they're not going to do it. Yeah, they're not going to. And to see it happen by 1 point, no good.
Never seen anything like it. Both weeks, Pickett, snap over the shoulder. I was sitting at that end and I just froze after I thought we had done it. Kerno kicked a goal earlier in that passage of play. And then, the week after, and I've been saying this phrase ever since it happened, life hits you just like Jamie Elliott streaming into open goal.
Yeah. Well, or unless it's after the siren on Anzac Day for every Essendon supporter. But you know what? Regardless of how bad it's going for you, just thank goodness you don't back for Essendon.
Very true.
Very true. Hey, let's have a chat about 2023. And first of all, thank you for coming back again. Like I said, it's the 3rd year that we've been able to do this, and it's really nice to be having a community of fellow casters to talk about their team, because it's nice to have that consistency from one year to the next. I know you said, this is the year. 2023 is going to be. So I'm nailing this one straight away. You're making my top 8. I'm not putting a jinx on it. I'm just saying you're in my top 8. You've just got too many things going for you with an extra year to learn from Voss, players-wise, health-wise. It has to be the year. I think teams are going to drop out. We know that. But there's just something about the Blues that, good old Brendan Bolton said, the green shoots. Now, they're really strong trees now. They're able to stand up to the pressure in winter. Is that how you're seeing it? What have you heard about the track watch? What have you seen? What's on the Twitter sphere? What can you tell the loyal listeners out there about your mob this far?
Well, enough is enough. So we'll start there.
Yep.
Enough is enough. I think for a lot of us, people who are my age, like I'm 31, so those who have seen what I've seen or who have been born after me and are a little younger than what I am, it's promises and this will be the year and all this talent and this potential. And, even looking at the list right now, you look at it on paper and it looks really nice. 2 Coleman medalists, a Brownlow medalist. Sam Walsh is there. Obviously, he's hurt right now. But it's just gotten to the point where I'm done manifesting what's going to be and I'm just ready to start talking and reacting to what is. So do I think we're going to make finals? I fucking hope so, mate.
Just say it. Just listen. You can just say, yes, we are. Like I said, you got to have a look at the end. Everyone I've been on over the last couple of days, I've been looking at the percentage, and the percentage tells the story. You had 108.34. Right? Now, that was a better percentage than the Magpies on 104 and a smidge behind the Bulldogs. So literally you and the Bulldogs were that percentage point out. But the fact that Collingwood got across the lines on the games that they won, you lost the games that you should have won, and that was the only difference. Yet people are calling Collingwood to be top 4, top 2 this year. I personally don't see it. I've actually tipped them not to even make the 8. And And if I had to put both teams up against each other, I would say I've got a lot more confidence in where you're going. Your back line, very, very strong. Doherty, I don't know how he does it. And I want you to speak to me about this guy because he's been through some troubling times over the last number of seasons. And to see him play live, you'd think that there's been absolutely nothing wrong. Like if he is not the culture within that club, like if he was leading you out every single week, why wouldn't you want to just rise to the occasion? And like I said, you've got the Twin Towers down at the forward end, and you've got the reigning Brownlow medalist. You don't have excuses this year. You just don't.
No, you're spot on. And yeah, touching on Doc, I think I think league-wide, I can safely say he's an inspirational figure. ACL, cancer, 4 or 5 years. And then to come back and have arguably the best season of his career last year, knowing that he was an All-Australian player in 2017 and played every game in 2020 is remarkable. I think I probably was sitting here last year with you saying, I don't even know if he's going to play. I'm not going to put expectation on him. So to have this season that we got out from him, and then also I think if you're a player on the list walking into the club every day and you want to complain about, I don't know, your coffee was too hot or your coffee was no good or something like that, and then you look over
someone cut me off in traffic.
Yeah. And you look over and Sam Doherty's there, I think he's going to bring, and he does bring, an instant perspective as well. So, yeah, he's a special human.
I had a chat with Siobhan from the North Talk podcast a couple of days ago, and we're talking about Ben Cunnington, literally in the same light, just the things that he's gone through. And you're right, little things in life, when you walk through the door and you see him and what he's gone through with what his family's gone through. And regardless if you barrack for them or not, North or yourself, they're just people that you sit back and go, I'd just love to chew the fat with them for half an hour and just have a chat and just tell me, how do you do it? Because I worry about the littlest things and you've gone, don't worry about that. How do you get your mindset, especially the 2 ACLs as well, which people forget. They remember the cancer, but they don't remember the 2 ACLs too. So he's had 4 big hitters that he's had to try and get over. And then to come back and play at the standard he plays at, geez, what? You got him on one flank and you got Sard on the other. Like, that's mind-blowing stuff. And then you just got that Wiedering bloke just floating around the middle as well too. So, he's had his issues as well too. So it's like you haven't been able to get everybody on the park at once. It's almost like that's the only thing. And if you can, there's really nothing stopping you to, like I said, I would say finals, and I reckon top 4 is easily in your grasp. I think it's going to be one of those, pretty much like just getting those the games in. One good thing about your list, you've got the 8th youngest list, which is kind of cool, and average games your 10th. So it's starting to grow a little bit. Remember, you had the youngest one for quite a long time. You had a lot of second, maybe third club type of players. Now it's starting to get that organic list is starting to come through together. Does that sort of get you a little bit excited when you're seeing the players coming through together? And that's what the successful clubs have had over the last 10, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I think the coolest part right now is, the guys that we drafted at the beginning of this group, the Wiederings, the Kernos, the Mackays, are now the leaders who, the next young crop come through, the Motlops, the Durdens, the Jack Carrolls, the Brody Kemps, etc. And, now you've got Wiedering and all those original draftees who now completely have the keys to the club. So I think the standard is raised from who was leading the club prior to those boys. So even the older guys that were playing when those boys were drafted. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to finally have memories of the younger days of Jacob Wiedering, for example. He's in year 8 now of his career. So yeah, that's the exciting part, the turnover of who has the keys to the club.
Yep.
And I've got a lot of respect for Wiedering and Mackay and Kerno and those boys, and Cripps and Doherty as well. I think we're well placed. Time will tell whether or not they're ready to really take us towards a top 4 berth. But yeah, I think they're primed.
Taking you to a top 4 spot is also the second-year coach in Michael Voss, second-year coach at Carlton. How did you see his first year, 2022?
It was great. I thought he brought exactly what we needed. I think the years prior to Voss, Teague and then Bolton, there was always a feeling of like, what are we doing? What's the game plan? What's our identity? Whereas I think with Voss, one thing, even though it ended the way it did, I think one thing is for sure, we probably earned a lot more respect from the competition, the way we played.
Yes.
Played with a much harder style, a bit more vigor. I don't think we were viewed as much of a pushover as what we were prior to last year. So there's that, which is awesome. And I guess now moving into second year, we have like stability. 12 months ago today, we're talking about a new coach, new president, new CEO, new board. So finally, there's some stability at Carlton when we're so used to sacking people and delisting a whole bunch of people. So yeah, you would think logic will tell you that means you're going to be better, but we'll wait and see.
One thing I noticed with your mob was the pressure around the ball was out of control. And that's the sign of a fit team, but a sign of a team that's bought in, that we're all willing to just, put pressure on the opposition, regardless if I get it or not, because I know that it might spit out to my teammate. I might be on the end of it, but if I don't get it now, I'll get it again. And it seemed like you were playing for each other, which, let's be honest, at times there's been every team, but Carlton have had situations where not everybody was playing for the right reasons. They might have been playing for themselves a little bit. Didn't see that really at all last year, which was awesome. And one person who I thought really bought into it towards the end, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But Jack Martin had his best season. How many years has he been around for now? I reckon he's 28, so almost 8-9 years he's been around for now. And it seemed to, I saw him what he did against the D's. Once again, that's the one I refer to because I was there. When he bought in, he just made your forward line just so much more dangerous because that's what people were expecting from him his whole career.
Spot on. Thing about Jack Martin, you're right. When he plays, he grabs your attention. Obviously, he was able to play against the D's, and he had that little patch in that fourth quarter, I think he was, where he kicked a few in a row. And you look at that and you think, wow, this guy is a super talent. The only issue is he's just not on the park enough. He's playing 8 games a year, 7, 9. So it's a tease. And part of the next layer for us has to be, there's a great saying, to be great, you have to be available. So we need to see Jack Martin play 17, 18 games, so that way he can really emerge in the competition. Because I don't know if we all know that there's something there, but I don't know if he's really put it all together in his career yet.
No, I don't think he has. His best season was 2017, where he kicked 24 and played 22. But at the Blues, it's been 12 last year, 11 the year before, 15 the year before that. And even his last 2 years at the Suns was 16 and 15. So he's always missing his batches of 5 or 6 games a season. And that's what causes the inconsistency. The teams that take it on further and go deep into finals are the ones that can stay on the park and are not injured. The perfect example is another guy with the double M's, the M&M, Mitch McGovern. He's another perfect example of could be anything, but he just hasn't been able to get on the park at all. Like, you look at what you invested to get him across and you sort of sit back and go, that's got to be frustrating knowing what possibly he could do. And he hasn't been able to get on the park either.
Yeah, the only reason that there is a frustration is because fans know how good they are. These types of guys, these Marchbanks, these McGoverns, these Jack Martins, these Dave Cunningham types, Zach Williams. We know how good they can be, and we know how good they are when they're in the side. It just seems like it's funny because with every single one of them, it's just when they're looking like they're just getting on top of their bodies and starting to hit their straps, and then some sort of soft tissue injury happens. I mean, Zach Williams did an Achilles. That was different.
That's a different one altogether. Like, you can never plan an Achilles. Like, it just goes. But and I'm just going to jump in. And the reason why when you mentioned that about things happening, you look at McGovern. He's played 12 games in the last 2 years. He played 12 in the 22 season. And he's kicked 22 goals in his first season with you. And you're thinking, here we go. And then he's kicked 15 in 3. So he just hasn't been able to get on the park. And he's such a young bloke as well, too. Like, you've got to remember, it seems like he's been around for years. It's only next year will be his 8th season. You'd think he's been around for 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Like his brother. But so much upside. But you've just got to get him on the park.
It's all about the preseason, isn't it?
It
all
is
about the preseason.
And that can happen, though, with preseasons, especially if you get somebody new in. I think Andrew Russell's your guy down there. Is that right?
Yeah. 2018-19 he came.
Yep, so 18. So some people are not used to, usually it's a number of preseasons to build to where you need to be. If you're not used to it and you can't get your preseason right, good luck for the rest of the season because that's building your base. And there might be a couple of people who have gone down, but hopefully, I don't know what you can tell me and tell the listeners about what you've heard so far in terms of the injury watch, if it is as bad or if these guys are actually getting the sessions into them. But before I ask you about that, there is one other guy that I thought really impressed, that I thought leaps and bounds just from what I saw. And it was because I think when Pitnet went down, you had to throw another bloke into the ruck. And hopefully you know who I'm talking about here. He wears the number 1 on his back. He has the reputation of his dad and grandfather to follow on. But I thought Jack Silvani was getting to be almost one of your most important last year. Just his forward presence, but working around the ground was something I hadn't seen for probably the first couple of years. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing about Jack, even in the early part of his career where the body probably just wasn't there to cope with the league, he just has this care factor for Carlton. He loves it so much. He plays with passion. It's beyond passion. It's like life or death for him. And, he carries a really big burden as a Silvani. He's a 3rd-generation player. Round 1 this year will be his 100th game, and that'll be the first time that 3 generations have played 100 games. So he carries a big load on his back, and I think, the beauty of Jack is, he's really, what is he? He's our 3rd forward. That's really what he is. But you need him in the ruck, he'll do it. He loves it. If someone goes down back, or if we're just decimated, he'll play there. If you need a little chop out in the midfield, he'll do it. And Jack's just, you speak so highly of him as a Carlton fan because you know that he genuinely cares.
I didn't realise how big he was in terms of height-wise. Like I thought when you look at the park, sometimes they look taller or shorter. I stood next to him, funny enough, in a snack bar. I was buying pie. He was buying a salad sandwich. And I looked up and went, he's actually a big rig. I didn't realise how big he was. So, like you said, his body's filling out more. He's being able to sustain it and then just getting a good run of it as well too. That's what a lot of these younger players who are in and out just need consistency. And he took that opportunity beautifully last year. Mate, I'm looking at your list here and I'm just looking through names and how could you not get excited? Like Chera was his first year last year. Was it last year? Yeah. Serviceable. You probably want to go in it. Maybe serviceable is not the word I'd use. You might choose something different. I'll go into Patrick Cripps because that's a different story altogether. Charlie Curnow, that's a different story. We'll get on to him in a moment. Tom Dehgani down back. We're talking about Sam Doherty. Corey Durden up forward. Zach Fisher up forward. Lockie Fogarty. George Hewitt. What a beautiful addition. He added some grunt into the midfield as well too. Matt Kennedy was someone I didn't know much about. Got to see a little bit of him. It was a bit of an eye turner as well. Then you got this other big bloke. I don't know if you've heard of him before. He's got a brother, Harry Mackay. He's got Ben Mackay. I don't know if you've heard of him. He goes all right. Jesse Motlop. Hey, do you want me to keep going? Nick Newman, Matt Owies, Mark Pitnet. He's an underrated ruckman if I've ever looked at one. Adam Sard, what a sensational bring across from Essendon. Jack Silvani was spoken about. There's these couple of W's, Walsh and Wiedering. I've got Williams and I've got your little bit Shark. Like I've probably written 3/4 of you. Like that's got to put a smile on your face when you look at it and go, actually, we've got a really good list. Let's just get it to work. We've got the parts. Let's just get the synchronicity going.
100%. I mean, the first 10 rounds were magical last year, sitting pretty at 8-2. And then obviously it was really the last month that undid it. But yeah, that's the frustrating thing. The list excites me so much. Maybe I'm a little biased. Maybe you can point it out to me, but like, what's the hole? What position needs covering? We just brought in a winger as well in Blake Acres, who's going to play, every game if he's fit. I'm trying to think like, what is the glaring hole? It probably is more intangible, like it's a leadership thing as opposed to a role. But this is the list, whether we win a flag or not, I don't know. But this is the list that's going to do it or not.
Honestly, I just think it's between the ears. It's and a perfect example. I know I brought them up before, and I don't want to, cross it. But you just have a look at Collingwood. Like I think their list is worse than yours, but they just had that belief that regardless of whatever happens, we win. And it felt like, especially those last couple of games, when it got tight, instead of trying to win the game, it went to defending the game, and it falls over. So it's just about sometimes you just need that little bit of luck to go your way. But from a forwards perspective, you've got probably the 2 best forwards in the league outside of Geelong. So, like I said, the beautiful brothers of destruction, I think I called them the other day. You've got those two. Then you've got the little fellas like the mosquito fleet. Like you've probably got the one of the best mosquito fleets running around, not just from a goal kicking perspective, but a pressure. Owies surprised me last year. Corey Durden surprised me last year. And who's the third one?
Jesse Motlop.
Jesse Motlop as well too. So they surprised me big time. So they support those guys perfectly. Your midfield, like I said, Pitnet. I reckon Pitnet might have been the issue when he went down. You have to throw things around, and he was like, he's a big unit, but he's actually a really good ruckman.
Yeah.
You've got the great man Patrick Cripps, which look, if you don't man crush that bloke, you don't love footy, regardless, because he is just. Oh, if I can get my boy Christian Petrarca to kick goals like him, I would happily turn. All right. You got Walsh in there, and he is a running machine. Like, go to a game and watch him live. He is just up and back. One contest to the gut bust, he goes off, back on. We mentioned obviously Jack Silvani a little bit earlier on, and then you go down back. Wiedering's there, Marchbank's there. Unfortunately, got rid of Oscar McDonald. I thought that's a big mistake.
Agreed.
Joking.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah, he's good. Look, he would have been good just as a backup.
Yeah.
All right, as a backup. But you've got to make decisions to drop people to bring him in, and I can totally understand that. But Adam Sard on one side of the ground, you've got Doherty on the other. Zach Williams when he gets fit, I think that's also an issue. Like, I think they tried to play him as a midfielder and it just didn't work. So just put him back to where he's good in the back line. Just let him run in a straight line like he did at GWS. And then, like I said, you mentioned really briefly George Hewitt and Lewis Young. And on the wings, you've got Akers, who joined you as well too, which was a bargain get. Yep. I was hoping that my mob would have picked him up, but we ended up getting Hunter, so I'm not too worried about that. But you're right. I think that you've got all the pieces in place. It's just between the ears. That's the only thing that I can get. And another year getting used to the game plan is only going to put you guys in a better position as well too. There's not much I can really look at it and go, there's a hole. I could pick other teams who have got issues, but you don't seem to have anything. It's just a mental thing.
Yeah, experience. I think I'm mindful that 2022, especially the way it ended, is the building block of something. Like you need pain in order to feel that success. You need to build off something. Don't know what the boys are motivated by, but I think humans in general, like, you don't know what it's truly like to win until you fail. So I'm hoping that the last 25 years of failure combined with, the last 12 months and the way it all ended, the boys probably know that they're good enough. I think the competition knows that we're good enough to do it. But to be embarrassed, and feel that shame and to feel like you've let everybody down, I'm hoping that that's that event, that circuit breaker event where it's like, okay, line in the sand, no more. We're not going to, I'm hoping we're just better equipped in a close game in 2023.
And I think what they'll take out of it is when you're training, if you're shortcutting your weight session or you're shortcutting your running or you're shortcutting your recovery, those are the things that go, hey, you know what? We lost by a point there. That shortcut now might happen again. So if you can actually make that as a positive to working through the season as well too. Let's get on to your season as well too, because there is really no excuses. Let's have a look. You got the degree of difficulty, the 12th hardest draw. When it comes to the Liz Smiley ski double ups, you've got Collingwood, so that could go either way. GWS, I think you should pinch 2 there. Gold Coast, I'm a little bit buoyant on Gold Coast at the moment, especially with a couple of things floating through, and so that could go either way. You got Melbourne, let's be honest, that could go either way, and it almost did. I think you'll pinch, well, I won't say pinch, but you should be able to get St Kilda twice, and West Coast you should get twice. So out of your double ups, potentially you've got 6 there, maybe 8 to 9. So then you've got the rest of the league to work with. Your first 4, really good. Richmond away, which is at the G. We've got it every Thursday night anyway. Geelong at home, interesting. GWS away, I think you should be able to take that. And North Melbourne away at,
I think it's Marvel.
The other half of home ground that you have, which is Marvel.
It's a Good Friday game. Yeah.
Oh, is it the Good Friday game? Is that at the G or is that the...
Put me on the spot. I think they've moved it to the G for the first time. I could be wrong, but I think it might be at the G. I don't know.
And then your last 3 are Melbourne at home, Gold Coast away, and Greater Western Sydney. So the start to the season, that's an easy easy 2, I reckon. GWS and North, I reckon you're going to get those. And there's no reason why Richmond and Geelong, you could easily win both of those or easily lose both of those. That's just the way it is, especially in the first month. But you're in a really, really good position. You've got to. It's only the draw, and you can only play who you've got. But if you look at it from last year to this year, I reckon you're in a really good spot. And you already know that you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a good spot last year, 8-2.
So who's exciting you? Like, I know we could talk about, and Curnow, sorry, before I go on it, Charlie Curnow, what a great return. After all the challenges he's had with knees and everything, to come back and fire like he did, I am a bit jealous. Like, you got to sit back and go, we do have the luxury of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of too many teams in the comp that have 2 Coleman medal style forwards. Like Geelong's obviously one of them. The Tigers are another one, even though Jack Rebolt's towards the end of his career, but still he's a champion. We are very blessed to have both of those big boys in the forward line.
I've got a feeling there's a statistic that is the first time that 2 players at the same club but different people have won the Coleman 2 years in a row.
You're right. Yeah.
I've been doing my homework.
Would you, mate? The encyclopedia.
I've been doing my homework about your mob because if you're going to chat to the best, you've got to have yourself armed and ready. So who's got you excited? I know just when his name popped up, I had to quickly go into it. Who's got you excited for this year? Now, it could be somebody who's been around for a while, but they've just taken it to another level over the preseason. Somebody that we haven't heard about. Where's it? What's sort of got you going at the moment?
I'll give you one of each. So
all right, go for it.
They're both getting me excited, and one of them you probably haven't heard of too much of. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, Zach Williams. He's the guy for me who's going to do it and the reason why I say that is, so after the Collingwood game, I'll give you a story. I went to the club, just hanging out at the club, checking out the state of the development and all of that. And I bumped into Zach Williams and had a conversation with him. This was probably a week or 2 after the Collingwood game. And he had already started his preseason and he just spoke so candidly about himself, where he'd been, what he hadn't done enough of, and how he is. I got to see a little bit more about what makes him tick. And he looked me dead in the eye the whole time. And just the way he spoke, I believed it. So that combined with the fact that he has not missed a single preseason session. So that's obviously great for a base for him. So I think he's going to do the thing that we brought him to the club to do. Now, whether that's, I'm with you. I don't think we need him in the midfield. I think you put him on the halfback flank and let him do his thing where he does his best work. So Zach Williams is the one I'm really excited about. And then in terms of a youngster coming through, I don't know if you'll like me saying this, but I think Jesse Motlop's got a bit of Keziah Pickett about him.
I hope so, because if Cozzy goes back next year to Adelaide, we'll go and pinch.
Little Jesse.
No, go for it. Cozzy had a great first season. His second season wins a flag, and now he's pushing into the midfield. It's taken some time for him to get a tank. If I've seen the highlights of him, love what I see, but what have you seen or what have you heard over this time, or even from last year? And then, I'm noticing this to where he could be by the end of the year.
So what it was with Jesse, I was very mindful of not putting too much expectation on him last year, given that he was a first-year player. But once he got into the team, he stayed in the team. And for a first-year play, he just looked so comfortable at the level. He was always able to put shots on goal, just wasn't able to convert as much. But again, he's a 18, 19-year-old kid playing. And then you look at the Melbourne game, he was solid. But there was the Collingwood game. He stepped up. We were kind of dead and buried a little bit in the second quarter, and he just provided a spark. And then he continued with it in the third quarter and kicked 2 in the quarter. And he's just ready for the league. He's ready to be a professional. And then I've been to the open training sessions. His body, he's a specimen. He's and I don't want to judge how they look at the preseason based on how they're going to be in the season, but he's clearly put some more body size on. He's already pretty strong. He's nimble. He's a Motlop, and also he's grown up in the environment. His dad was a player. He's been in the change rooms. He was almost nurtured to be a footballer from birth. So yeah, I think he's going to surpass what people expect of him this year.
Well, he had a great first season. 12 games, 12 goals. Can't ask for much more. That's what you're in there for. Average 2.5 tackles and 8 disposals. And usually it takes you a couple of games to get your bearings. Not everybody can come out and be a Matt Rowell or a Clayton Oliver in their first couple of games, or a Dean Polo, and just dominate and get Brownlow votes. But he was steady. He was ranked first amongst the number of tackles for Rising Stars inside 50, and also the fifth amongst goals per game as well too. Like, sit back and just smell the roses a little bit. And you've got to remember, you picked him up at pick 27. So there were 26 other clubs that could have taken him beforehand, and you've gone, we see one here. And I think you've definitely got that right. I think you guys know you've got it right as well too.
Well, that was the hole. That was the hole in the list the last hole in the list that we had was the small forward. That was, 2019. We went after Papley, didn't happen. Then we end up drafting Corey Durden and then Jesse Motlop the year after. So, we filled the void. The small forward position is going to be in good hands for the next decade. So, yeah, it's both of them. Corey Durden and Motlop, they're very exciting, the two of them.
And the good thing was that they were under, he wasn't, but the others had Eddie Betts for at least a couple of years to sort of learn the craft, because you really weren't able to replace when he left to go to Adelaide. You weren't able to replace that. So to get him back, but sometimes it's not what he does in the 2 or 2.5 hours on game day. It's the stuff he does around the club that you can learn the most amount from. But you look at your John Nichols medalist last year, Brownlow medalist like Patrick Cripps. What can you say about this guy? He's just he looks like he's falling apart because he's held this club on his back for so many years. But for the first time in a long time, it didn't look like he was patched up from pillar to post. And he was just dominating games, not just out of the middle, but down forward as well too. He's just an all right. He's my daughter's 15. Like, if she turns 10 years time, if she brought Patrick Cripps home as her boyfriend, I'd be like, you've done. How good's this?
Welcome.
He's just welcome through the door. I'm not changing clubs, but I will barrack for you on game day. Except he just seems like just an utmost honest, just a genuine guy. And I've obviously never met him, but you might be able to just say, look, from your interactions or whatever, just seems like that's the guy that you want leading your club.
Yeah, the way he presents on camera is really how he is off camera. He's just I think that's probably, I would say that about the whole group. They're good boys, like good families, good values. I would say, I'll actually say that about the whole group. There aren't too many, I don't know, there's some clubs that have players where you're like, oh, stay away from my daughter, for example.
Loose cannon, you can say loose cannons or, stay away.
Yeah, I don't think we have too many of them on the list, which is maybe what we need. Maybe we need a little bit of mongrel. I don't know, but I think we've got a really strong group in terms of their character.
Yep. Oh, look, I think this is the most pepped up, no pun intended, that I've seen you over the last couple of years. Like, there's a look of excitement on your face, but there's also a look of trepidation. Like, I don't want to have to come here again next year and say, Peps, seriously. It was last year I said it, and it fell over again. And I don't think it will. And I don't think you will. I don't think anyone else will. So it's kind of cool. Hey, I will ask you about Harry Mackay quickly. Who do you prefer out of the square? Do you prefer Mackay out of the square or Curnow out of the square?
Such a good question, because I don't think we know. I personally think Charlie, you put him one out in the goal square, and you have Harry as the relief marking player on the wing. Charlie can obviously play up the ground and go on the wing as well because he's got a great tank. But I think Charlie can do things a little bit more than Harry. What I mean by that is, like, he can play in the air, strong contested mark, but he's a lot better on the ground than what Harry is. So he gets defenders confused all the time. They want to play man on man. He'll just get a goal out the back. Like, he knows how to read the ball. So he's very versatile like that. So my preference is Harry a little bit more further up the ground and Charlie in the goal square. I think any defender in the league, you'd worry about both of them, but Charlie's just got so many tricks. So, yeah, that's my preference.
And I will say, Harry, anything outside 50 or 50 and beyond, the chances of him missing are very minimal. Like, he loves the long ball. Actually, some players are just better at a long ball than close. And when it was almost, okay, just I can go get a drink now because this is going straight through, and I'll have a couple of minutes to get my bearings again. Rightio. So if we have to put a number on it, all right, we're getting into the nitty gritty of it now. You can be as biased as you want or not biased as you want. Who is going up this year in terms of who's going to be moving up the ladder? and who is going to be going down. So in terms of, it can be one team, it can be many teams. From the analysis that you've seen, just from what you think, who's going to be making an impact this season and who's going to be having a bit of a slide. And who's ringing me? Home phone. Who has a home phone?
Home phone?
I don't have a home. My wife has to have a home phone. Probably
Bless.
my mum ringing. All right, who's going up?
I think Carlton and Port Adelaide will go up.
Ooh, okay. So obviously we've gone through Carlton. What makes you think of Port Adelaide? Because that hasn't come up too many times, I must admit.
I think they're a very strong club. I'm also very biased with Port. I was with them in China for the 3 years when they were there, so I got to see the inside of Port Adelaide.
Hold on. You've never told me this. What do you mean you were working with Port Adelaide at that particular time, or you were over in China at the time, or how did that?
So the story goes, I was teaching English in China in 2017, and right place, right time, found a company that was organising the game from the China side of things.
Sensational.
Yeah.
See, there's a bit of a soft spot. Oh, Jamie, the J-Dog, will absolutely be loving you for that one.
Yeah.
So you got a bit of a soft spot for them. You think that just the bad start to last year cost them more than anything?
Yeah, I think, the injuries, I think I started 0-5 from memory.
Yeah, 0-5.
Yeah, and they really are a great club, strong values, and all of those things. So I think they'll go back up. I think we'll play finals. In terms of who's going to come out, the Dogs out. Get out. They shouldn't have been there in the first place.
That was not close to your heart at all, is it, really?
No, the 0.6%. No, not at all. So I think they'll come out if I'm guessing. And I don't know if I'm going to make enemies with the Dockers. I just think I don't know. I might be barking up the wrong tree, but I think the Dockers will slide.
You're not making enemies with me. Maybe the duck from the next show that I'm going to be dealing with, the Fremantle boys, when I have a chat to them. Maybe, but I must admit, I am a little bit suspect on them. I just don't know where they're going to get their goals from.
Yeah,
now the lob's gone, I don't know where they're going to get them. So Carlton and Port to rise.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the Dogs and the Dockers to slide. What about even a little bit lower in the ladder? Because a lot of people are going to the top. Anything down the lower end of the ladder that you think actually they're a bit of a riser, or somebody who's almost that mid-range to drop a little bit?
The Suns.
Yep.
Hot on the Suns. Very hot on the Suns. Who's the other? I think there might be one more. There's another team I feel like I'm missing out on that didn't play finals.
There's one that I've picked, and I'm happy to tell you once you go through yours, but there's one team that I'm looking at the moment, which I think everybody's going to think they're the laughing stock. I think they're actually going to go up a couple of spots, and they won't be last.
Oh my God. Nah, you tell me.
Mine's North. I don't think North are going to be. I don't think they're going to be last.
I don't think they're going to be last either. I will agree on that. You've got Clarko. He's just going to coach wins, you know?
They've got Clarko. They've got just a different style. They've got two awesome forwards down there. They've still got Goldstein in forward up front. They've got Mackay down back, and they were smart this year with their draft in bringing two young kids, not doing they've cut their losses with Horn Francis. They got two second and third picks, so they're going to be coming straight in. I think they're going to be just getting some structure, which they didn't have over the last couple of years, and they weren't as bad. Like, they did push teams on a couple of occasions last year and weren't able to take it out. They did it against Collingwood, but that was the big one. So I think they're a massive chance to move up a couple of spots, and if I had to pick anyone to drop down, I think I've said it before, I think Hawthorn will go down, and funny enough, GWS will be the other one to pop down.
Yeah, I'm with you on those two.
With those two? All right. Who's taking out the flag? This is the one that we always get to. I know the eyes are popping up. This has been an interesting one because there's been 3 teams that keep coming out, and we'll see if you're in the sort of ballpark, and then I'll give all the listeners out there what the trend has been. But can be 1, can be 2, can be 10, or as many as you like. Who do you think are going to take it out this year?
I'm not saying this because I'm with you, but the D's.
Okay. Please tell me why. Because
the reason is you tick the boxes of what you need to win a premiership. You need experience, you need the age profile, you need the list profile, tick, tick, tick. You need a little bit of pain, which you probably had in 2022. You probably just, you started the season so well. Something happened. I think I remember talking to you as well. You still felt like it was just something off, whether it was complacency or whatever the case may be. There might have been something that was off. And I think you've just built such a strong club to overcome. I don't think this is the end of the run for the D's. I think
it'd be nice. It'd be nice. I think
so.
Appreciate
I'll put them up there. No, I'll put them up there because I respect them, and then also you've now got something that I don't remember any team having in the league ever in Grundy and Gawn at the same time in the prime of their careers. Like, I don't remember the last time I saw that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how that look. It's either going to be a big bang or it won't be a bust, but it'll be trying to find that mix. And it is really nice to hear that. The ones that have come out so far have been Port.
Okay.
Have been brought up a couple of times. Geelong, obviously, and Melbourne have been the other one that's come up. But Brisbane are there, and I reckon you and Brisbane as clubs are so close it's not funny. It's just all above the shoulders with both of you. You just to get there and them to take the next step because you've got everything in place. And you just need to do it. Like I said, I've got you anywhere between. Actually, you will not finish lower than 6th, so you'll be either 5th or 6th. Top 4, mate. No, but I just think that there's too many things in your way. Plus, you've got a pretty good draw. If you put all that together and you can keep everybody on the park, we're going to be having a chat next year. You may not have the cup, but you'll just say, you know what? I was actually able to do something in September that involved my club and not anybody else's.
Yeah, I'm looking at we won 12 games last season. I'm looking at 14 to 15 tops. I think that's what we're capable of doing. Now, does that get you in the top 4? I think the Pies finished 4th with 16 wins. So if 15 wins gets us 5th, then a home final, then I think that's a great season.
I think it is. And if you have a look, so I'm just having a quick look at the history from last year and the games that you lost. So you had a 1-point win against Hawthorn, 3-point win against Port, a couple of close ones, Sydney, which was about 15 points, a close loss to Collingwood, a close one to St Kilda. That would have hurt, especially towards the middle of the season. Like, St Kilda, really?
Terrible that night. It's the last month.
And losing to Adelaide. It was that last month. It was. The Adelaide game, even though it was at the Adelaide Oval, they weren't playing great footy and they've come out and beat you. And then those last 2 games. So you spin 2 of those wins around and you're making finals. Well, so you got the percentage as well too. That's what you got to look at. You ended up on a percentage that was better than a team that finished 4 spots higher than you. So you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think 8-2 was a great start. We knew it wasn't going to be that hot for the whole season, and then we kind of just went win loss, which I was okay with because it's a long season. We had bodies injured. It was really the big compliment that I had about us throughout the year last year was we didn't let 1 loss become 2.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. And then the last month came and it became 2, it became 3, and then it became 4 losses in a row, and then it was what it was. So if we can just stay consistent, I know we're not going to win games. I know we're going to lose games that we probably shouldn't. And I just want us to make sure that we bounce back immediately after a loss. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and that's all we can ask for. But what we can also ask for is for you to keep up the amazingness that is Blue Abroad. So what have you got in tune for the listeners this year? Viewers, because what you do, you and Saints TV and Talking Hawks are the 3 that really stand out with me with what you guys do and cover the club. It's just so in-depth. Your fan channels, I love just jumping in after a win or a loss, just the fan cams and having a bit of a look. And the way that you interact with your viewers, your supporters, your community is like first class. So is there anything different for this year you got planned, or are you continuing in just the great way as per normal, like you did in 2022 and 2021 before that?
Well, firstly, thank you. That's very kind of you. I think I'm at a point now with the channel where it's just about, I think the blueprint for the most part's there. In terms of the videos that I'm recording and the shows that we have on the channel, we've got a show for pretty much Like there's 5 shows on the channel and 4 of them are run by not me. So just managing people, it's less about me now. It's more about managing the team.
Yep.
So making sure everyone's got what they need. And with people come human stories and real life things. So just making sure that I'm being as good a leader as I can in that regard. But ultimately just having some fun. We're fans and we love our sport. We love our team. We have a bona fide, fan engagement platform where we can all come and, some people don't resonate with the way I speak, but they resonate with some of the other boys on the other shows or some of the other girls on the other shows. So there's something for everyone, depending on what type of supporter you are. So yeah, I think the big challenge is to continue that on.
Oh, beautiful. And like I said, it's a joy. And this is what I love about it is like, we've all got our own shows, but it's really nice just to jump onto other people's shows and everybody who's I've been dealing with over the last number of years, just to jump on, have a listen, have a bit of a watch, throw a bit of a comment in there because we do it because we love the people that we do it for. And I love the sport and obviously my team, but you love the Carlton Football Club and, why not share the love? So Carlton supporters, if you're not on Blue Abroad, you're wasting your time. Get on there now. All the links will be in the show description notes because any way that I can get you to just have a look, even go and have a look at last year's stuff because it'll be sitting there. You'll be absolutely blown away at the quality of what this gentleman does for your club. So that is your 2023 season preview for the Carlton Football Club. Like I said, I've got you marking beautifully midway in the 8. But before we go, Terry, I have one question to the magnificent Terry Dehgani, and it is simply this. Terry of Blue Abroad, the superstar that you are, how do you want your footy?
Lace out, please.
You can have it lace out. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. Have a great day, depending on when you're listening. And I think you're going to be in tune for something special. Thanks for listening to our latest episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. I'm your host, Chris Pepper, and with Jamie Wallis, we give you your footy how you want it. Peace out.